Alright, here's the video review for the DX9 accessories laboratory kit for the AL-01 4-liter Megatron Combiner Wars. And it comes in like just a squarish box here with some really nice blue and purple kind of pattern on it. There are no instructions inside. It just comes in like a little plastic clamshell inside the box. The instructions are all here on the back, and we'll cover how all that works here in a minute. But basically, inside the box, you get two of the calf covers, which I think are great. A cannon cover, his shoulder cannon or back cannon / gun, whatever. And a couple of feet pieces. They're mostly designed for robot mode. They can all store in vehicle mode, and I'll show you how. There's a couple little flip-out pegs, and they actually have a little notch on them to make it easier to pry them up out of there, which I very much appreciated. But there are a couple little foot pegs, and they just peg on back here to the back of the turret. And you could have some of your micro guys ride in there if you wanted. So they peg onto the back of the turret. The cannon cover goes on, and you can see there's a pattern here inside the cannon, and you want to have it arranged vertically like this. So these there's single pegs on each side, and then two sides with two little ridges inside, and those go vertically on the cannon. So this ridge goes inside of those vertical bits, and you can plug that onto the end of the cannon, just like that. This gun, it also comes with a set of hands, but you don't see those here in vehicle mode. Now this cannon can peg on right here to the side of the turret, and then these pieces, I thought these didn't have a place to go. I've seen some pictures of one of these clamped onto the front, and it actually turns out they actually are designed to go on the vehicle mode, because you can see this one has a peg hole in the middle of it, and it's designed to peg on right here to this peg hole in the back of his crotch plate in vehicle mode. You just line that up and peg it on. Just like that. It sits back there. And this one, like I said, this is the one I've seen clamped to the front. And unfortunately, in all the promo pics, this was still solid black, and they've painted the red on it, so it stands out a lot more in vehicle mode. But if you open it up, on the inside, there's these two little posts, and those actually go, let me rotate this out of the way here. Those actually plug in to these two little posts here on the front of the tank, so you can latch this on. Because just trying to clamp it around and having the fold around action holding it on doesn't work. But you clamp those onto those posts, and this can fold over, and it's kind of, I guess, front armor for the tank. In tank mode, it's nice that they found a way to incorporate everything into to store in tank mode. The feet here on top I don't mind so much, especially if you've got like a Legends class figure or somebody you want to sit up here. It makes it kind of look like an Action Master tank, which I kind of dig. The cannon tip on the front, it doesn't look as silly in tank mode as I thought. It does kind of thin and widen out. I don't know if it would be preferable, if I had the option, and you can take it off, but it stores. But like I said, it doesn't look quite as ridiculous as I thought. This cannon over here on the side, I don't mind so much. It seems like just kind of an extraneous cannon. It would have been nice if there were some peg holes somewhere else on this, or maybe this could have pegged a little further back. Although I guess technically you could, if you want to leave one of the feet off, you could plug this in back here. Or maybe wouldn't look quite as out of place as on the side, although that it does fit rather loosely in that peg hole. Odd that. I don't know why it fits securely here and not there. Maybe that's because that's a screw hole and that's an actual peg hole. But whatever. The calf pieces, I guess it's nice that they found a way to attach them. But yeah, I guess can you maybe, I wonder if maybe you can, if it fits on that way. I wonder if you can plug it on this way and fold that piece under. It doesn't look like it. It looks like that's, oh, no, maybe. No, okay. That has to be the way it goes on, because the way this ridge pits up, it's going to hit this before it can get low enough to peg onto that. I was thinking maybe if you could clamp that under like that, maybe it wouldn't be quite as ridiculous, but it doesn't fit that way in the thing. So to transform them, you just take all this stuff off, and you kind of have to. Well, I guess you can leave the cannon tip on. You don't have to remove that for transformation. Go ahead and rotate this. pull this up and off. And then you turn Megatron into robot mode, which I'm just going to go ahead and do because it's not that long of a process. Come on, you. There we go. Rotate those down, lift this up. That, like I said, you can leave that on. Come on, you. There we go. Get Megatron in robot mode, and we'll put everything on here. And we'll talk about the hands. Oh, come on. He's slipping a little side. If he gets too far out, I did remove those ratchets. So there's standard Megatron. He's out of frame, but that's okay. You know what Megatron looks like. And that's not what we're showing off anyway. So yeah, so you take this. This piece right here is intended to plug in on the back of his arm. And when you've got his arm facing straight up like this, it doesn't look that bad. I think it sits a little high here on his upper body, but it gives him that kind of back cannon that he had from G1. Somebody else has noticed. Somebody said it pops out very easily, and it doesn't take a lot to pop it out, but you can actually take it. Actually, before I unplug this, it's got a hinge here, and it's designed so that if you rotate his hand forward at all, his arm forward at all, you can still rotate it up to look like it's there on his back. And it kind of works, but it seems a little silly. You can take it, and this little screw hole right here on the bottom of the treads, this will fit in there. And you take it, it doesn't go as deep as up here on the arm because there is a screw in there. But you can set this in here and you can push it in. And it stays on pretty securely. Like I wouldn't swing the character around by it, but you can set it up there, straighten it up a little bit here. And I think that fits a little better and it doesn't move with his arm. It's, like I said, it sits a little lower. It's not sticking up past his head as much. And I kind of dig it in that position. I think that's a much better way of attaching it. Again, it does come off a little easier, especially if you're leveraging it up here, than it does on the arm. But you can see it does stay in fairly securely. The calf pieces, you can see there's the cannon right here. The cannon tip, I like how it makes the cannon look. My problem with the cannon is that it's just too long. That's not DX9's fault because the missile sits like just inside the tip of this here. The cannon itself, just with that tapery bit, is just a little big for Megatron. I feel like if this connection point were like halfway up, if you could just move this whole thing up a little bit, it wouldn't bother me so much. If you could make this type of end on the cannon move back up to here and get rid of this the tapery bit right there, I'd be okay with it. You know, just having this flare out a little wider at the end and having this maybe even able to collapse all the way inside the cannon would have made me much happier. This is a nice compromise. Although again, the cannon's still too long, but that's the original toy's fault, nothing to do with the add-on kit. So now onto the calf pieces, and they go on certain sides. There's a peg hole and a tab on the inside that locks into the leg here. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit here so we can see the effect on him. And those peg into the tab in the slot here on the leg. So the red piece goes on the inside, and you want to make sure these go on in a way that these are oriented correctly to peg in. So you just peg this onto the outside of the leg, and it tabs in there. It doesn't tab in on the inside, but the friction of just clamping it around it holds it on just fine. And you fold that around the leg. And it's the same thing on the other side. And those right there, like if you just stopped right there, those are great. They fill out the calves. They give him like thicker legs, and I feel like even if you just left it there without adding anything else to him, proportionally, that looks great. You can get this set, put everything else on, and leave the feet off, And just these calf attachments really do so much to make those legs look right. Even if you don't put the back cannon on, it looks better. Like if you put nothing else from this set but those calf pieces on Megatron, it already makes this figure look a lot better, in my opinion. I really like these calf pieces. They're simple, they're basic, they look silly in tank mode, but they look so great in robot mode. I'm sorry for going on this. They give him more of the kind of gun handle shape of his legs, and I just think they really fill out this figure excellently. Then onto the feet. You can see there's a little peg hole inside there, and these are nice, and they do give him some ankle tilt there. You can see this piece on the inside has a little pin here, which gives him a little bit of extra range, which is nice. But when you put them on, and again, these peg into these slots here on the bottom of the foot. So we'll pin those on. We'll fold up these little tabs here on the bottom. It makes him a little taller. And from the front, in certain lights, they don't look absolutely ridiculous. If you turn them to the side, however, it just gives him these big, giant feet clomping about for no reason. Like he's got huge feet if you do this, and that's the limitations of trying to find, making a piece that looks, still has kind of a natural slope to it, but fits over the foot of the toy without replacing the entire foot, because the pin system down here with how this piece folds around, all this stuff, being able to just pop that foot off and put a new foot on would have been problematic. Especially for a kid, for just your average, collector pulling the toys apart. So the feet are a little big, and the feet are really only there to make him larger for, so he can, he scales with MP10, and in that case, I think it works. Like it does make him look a little more imposing. If you just kind of cover the feet, they look good together. Megatron's slightly taller than Optimus, and all in all, it accomplishes the job it sets out to do. Visually, like I said, the feet are huge. If you don't care about his height with, and actually let me pop him off real quick. Here he is next to Optimus with the feet on, and if you pop the feet off, let me get them off here. They do stick on very tightly. I didn't want to do that at arm's length just because the force needed to pop them off tends to cause them to think. You can see if you do them like that, now Megatron is much shorter than Optimus. So that's mostly if you want to display them on a shelf. And honestly, if you've got them on a shelf, you might have some smaller figures in front of them where you don't see the feet. So for simple display purposes, they work. They are very large feet. And like I said, you can leave them off. And I think if you leave those off and leave the calf parts on, that's really all you need to make this figure look great. But they are included. We're going to show off the whole thing here. And the other thing is his hands. Now, I've only installed one of his hands. I've only installed this hand over here, not this hand over here, for a couple of different reasons. One, I wanted to have a loose one of each to show them off a little better, unattached to the figure how they come. This is the stock hand, and you can see it's one molded piece. It's got the 5mm peg hole in it. These are the new hands, which aren't quite as bulky, but they give you a wrist rotation, and they articulate the fingers. And they aren't completely articulated. The last three fingers are all one piece. The index finger does move independently, as well as has an independent point. The tip of it bends as well. Now, the reason I've only got one installed is one, they're a little tricky to install, and two, the mushroom peg, it doesn't look off, but for some reason this mushroom peg is just a little too hard to fit, a little too big to fit inside the slot that these originally come out of. On this hand over here, I took a little X-Acto knife and I shaved down a layer, just a thin layer. You don't want to do a whole lot, but just a thin layer on the inside of this mushroom peg. And because otherwise your option is to either trim this down or cut some plastic from the inside of the arm. And if you do that, if you ever decide to go back to the stock hands, then they're going to be super loose. So it was either modify something on this or modify something on the figure itself, I chose to modify this. In doing so, it's tight, but I've given it a wrist swivel here. It's not as tight, and I was able to get it in. However, for whatever reason, it doesn't sit quite flush anymore. Just a little bit. It's maybe a millimeter. It's not much. It doesn't affect its transformation, but you can see this piece right here sticks out a little bit past the silver piece, whereas on this side where I haven't modified anything yet, it doesn't. And I'm not sure why that is, because the thickness of the peg itself, which seems to be what's keeping it from there, because see that little silver tab goes up into the slot the hand sits in. I'm not sure what is keeping that from being in there, because if that peg were too tight, then the wrist swivel wouldn't be functional as well, or it would have been much harder to get the fist in. So I'm not sure why that isn't quite sitting flush. Maybe it's something I can shave down and fix, but I haven't pulled it apart. I mean, what's tricky about it is, and I'll give a quick shout out to this. It's Tamiya basic toolkit. I picked this up on Amazon for like $10, $12, and it comes with a couple different screwdrivers, this X-Acto knife, some plastic nippers, a file, and some tweezers. It's a great little kit for building gunpla or customizing figures or anything like that. I really, if you customize your figures, if you build gunpla, this is a great little kit to have. But I use the screwdriver from this, and the way this works, and they show it on the packaging, is you have to open up the forearm, you have to unscrew this screw right here, and another one that is down here, right there, under the arm, under this cover. And it's completely covered if you open up like this, and you can kind of see it through here. And the way they do it, I guess you might be able to do it this way. The way they show to do it is this peg hole goes all the way through the plastic, and so the instructions show you have to get a screwdriver that fits through here and kind of angles in to the screw hole there. And it's doable. I got the screw out with the screwdriver. You want to be very careful you don't strip the screw, because you want to be able to get it back in, and you want to be able to get it all the way out. And I found with this particular screwdriver, it's thin enough to get in there and catch that screw at just the right angle, where as long as you don't turn it too fast and provide plenty of pressure on the back end of it while you're unscrewing it, I was able to get that out with minimal damage to the screw. It did mess the screw up a little bit, and again, because of the angle, it's hard to show it, but it's still a usable screw. So yeah, it's a little bit of a pain to swap them out, so you really got to commit to one set of hands or the other. It's not something I'd want to do repeatedly over and over again, because I've already done a little bit of damage to that screw going in there at an angle. And again, that's not DX9's fault. That's just the design of the original toy. It'd probably be a little easier if you have a pin punch, and I do. I thought I had it sitting out here where I could show you. Oh, here it is. Let me get it out here. You can get this simple little pin punch again on Amazon. You could punch this pin out and maybe pull the whole cover off and have direct access to that screw. This is the way to do it if you don't want to punch pins. And I appreciate them showing you how to do it and finding a way to get it done without having to punch pins, because punching pins can be a pain in the butt. But yeah, so the hands are nice. I like that they articulated the fingers, but at the same time, you do have to shave some stuff down. Like if you just try to shove them in there by themselves, you might end up cracking some of the plastic inside the arm on Megatron. Overall, is the set worth it? I think for the most part, yes. I like the look in robot mode. Like I said, the feet are a little big. The cannon still ends up being a little longer than I'd like, although the feet being a little big is that's kind of unavoidable for having to make an add-on kit to feet that already exist versus replacing the ones there. And again, it's hard to replace those feet due to the design of the toy. The cannon's still a little long. I think proportionally, the whole cannon looks a lot better. Or design-wise, I like the shape of the cannon overall a lot better. It is a little longer than I'd like, but again, that's due to the design of the original toy, not what DX9 has done here. Like I said, and if you just move this back a little bit, I know somebody has taken it where they punched the pin out and made it so the cannon can use this peg hole to attach here, and maybe that would change something. I feel like that once you flip it around, it would still have a weird proportion to it. like I said, if I just move this cannon up and back. The back cannon, I feel, I like the look it gives. I do think if you're going to plug it in, you should plug it in here on the side of the tread versus in the back of the arm. Now, like I said, the hands are nice if you modify them. These calf covers, however, this set was worth the price of admission just for these calf covers. I think even if whether you use the feet or not, those calf covers make a world of difference in his robot mode. Again, they look ridiculous on the tank, but on the robot mode itself, I think they really fixed that one main issue I had with the toy, with those calves. It fills in his legs. He doesn't look nearly as skinny down there. And they really enhance the figure, I think. I really like those calf covers. So, it's a good set. Is it worth it to you? That's something you got to decide for yourself. Plastic quality is great. The build quality on this is great. There's nothing I'm worried about there. Like I said, a few modifications to the fists to get them to work properly. And really, I don't know that they offer a whole lot more over just the stock fists. But it is nice to have those posable fingers. And they don't look bad. They look nice. But those, like I said, the cannon cover and the calf covers and this back cannon, I think are absolutely worth it. The hands and the feet, it's up to you if you want to use them. You totally buy the set and not use them. You have that option. So yeah, but there is the DX9 AL-01 upgrade kit for Combiner Wars Leader Megatron.